Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 138. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Jay.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Got your head to the sides and I'm angry.
So what have you been getting down to this week, man? What were you up to?
Well, I actually got to a comedy show, and it was an okay time. It was at a little cafe in Bristol Borough. I bought the ticket over a month ago, just on a whim. I saw our brewery, Broken Goblet, was pouring there, and I just didn't know anybody else that was going per se. And I just
who was the comedian?
There was just random 6 people.
Okay.
Some were from New York, some were from Delaware County. One guy was local. He was my favorite one, actually, from the Croydon area. And
well, if you're from Croydon, you've seen some shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
Right.
You're from Croydon. You've seen some shit.
It was interesting, though. It was really interesting to see, some of the newbies, some of the veterans, and how the comedy lands, and sometimes how it doesn't. And goddamn, it's got to be a hard gig, to come up with new material all the time. Maybe they recycle old material sometimes.
A lot of times they do. A lot of times they use the same material over and over again, and they're trying to perfect it with a new audience.
It's a fascinating world, though.
Oh, it is.
It really is. And 2 of these guys that were in the audience were just kind of like a little bit of dickheads right from the get-go in the opening host act. And right from there, every single fucking comedian
just
got on them. Yeah, every single one. They came up. They almost like they're a part of the show.
Oh, good.
But it was still kind of enjoyable.
You don't do that. A lot of times, like a heckle, like here and there, like a one-off thing, they're not going to get too mad at. But if you keep constantly doing it, they will get pissed off.
Right, and I think it was just I think it was kind of payback, because the one guy literally just cut in and fucked up her whole punchline of the joke. Like, she was like setting up to a good, and just completely ruined it.
Well, all right.
And just took her off the flow, and she was,
I tried my hand at stand-up comedy before. It didn't go well.
Nobody starts off doing well.
There's a place in Philadelphia. It's called the Comedy Cabaret. It's actually every Wednesday night they do like an open mic night, and me and Mark Dickerson, who does movie cocktails with us of the Cult Movie Cult podcast.
How was I not there?
Me and him used to. Oh, this is back when we were in our early 20s. Me and him went there, and I remember my entire routine. I wrote it while I was sitting there. I had no plan on going up there, but Mark was like, he was going to go up there, and I was like, well, damn, man, if he's going to put himself out there like that. Neither of us were funny, though. Neither of us. The funniest part of that night was not either of our stand-up routines. It was when I was out back drinking a beer, there was a raccoon in the dumpster, and I started fucking with that raccoon, and everyone started laughing because me and that raccoon were hissing and back and forth at each other.
You stupid raccoon. Don't call me a raccoon! I'm sorry. I took it too far. I meant trash panda.
Everyone's like, man, he's really drunk. And I was like,
I can visualize that.
I am. I am really drunk. That's exactly why this is happening. Yeah, I was not funny. I can't even remember any of the jokes that I said. But what I know is I think I realized at that point, just because a bunch of your friends tell you you're a funny guy, that doesn't mean you can stand up there and be funny.
You can. I mean, it depends. It takes practice. That's really what it is. I think a lot of people don't realize it takes a lot more prep than they realize.
I think it takes a whole lot more than that. There's so much more involved than just rehearsal and repetition, because you can go up there and be a technically fantastic comedian and still fall flat. There is something about the people who do it and do it successfully that I don't know whether their brains are wired differently than ours, but
I don't know.
I don't think I could ever get up there and do it. Would I try again? Sure, I'd try again, but I don't think I'm made.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I'm made
I
for
want
that
you to try
stuff.
it again.
No, I don't think I'm made out of that stuff. I'm just not. It's just not me.
I'm certainly not.
And then for me, I did go to the movie theaters with Logan this weekend. We went and saw How to Train Your Dragon 3. I have a 5-minute-ish review for that coming up later on. And then me and Lauren, we got me a new cell phone because the iPhone that I was using was like 3 or 4 years old. It was old as all fucking get out. And my battery was lasting like 20 minutes at a time. It got real bad. So we went, and buying a new cell phone is like buying a car anymore. Like, I can't stand it. Like, and I don't want to sound like an old person.
You were there
but
for a long time.
I know, but so like, no, this was relatively quick, but that's because our account was in order and stuff like that. But we went there and I went to go pick out the phone and they're like, oh yeah, well, we do have that phone, but we don't have it. I wanted the 512 megabytes. They weren't going to give me the 512 because they didn't have them on hand. They had to order it from Apple. They told me it'd be 2 weeks, but they wanted to take my phone, my current phone, right then and there for the trade-in on it. So that way I can get the money off. And I was like, so you want to take my phone from me now and then tell me I got to wait 2 weeks for the new phone? I was like, and then what phone do I use in interim? And they're like, well, nothing. And I was like, it's 2019. Nobody goes without a phone.
It's true.
I wouldn't even be able to do notes for the show. Like, I would be lost.
I wouldn't be able to do anything.
A pen and paper are so
Everything
foreign.
is on my phone.
It's foreign to me. I don't even know how to write anymore. I'm pretty sure I can't even sign my name. So that was not going down. So I ended up getting the 256 instead, just because I could get it immediately. It's amazing how much I was willing just to cut my megabyte usage in half just to take it home that day. And then I was like, oh, I want the blue. And they're like, we don't have blue on hand. And I was like, how about the red? They're like, not red. I was like, what do you have? And they're like, we have it in black and white. I was like, just give me the fucking black one. It was, but I mean, I had to sit there and sign like 3 different pieces of paper, like re-upping my lease agreement. Cause you don't go and you don't buy a phone anymore and you don't get like money off towards it. It's a lease agreement now. So now it's basically a car. You're paying for that phone until it's paid off. And then even then, when it is paid off, you still have to pay off the rest of it. You still have to pay like an extra $200 at the end to make it yours. Or you just trade it in and you get another new phone. Now, that's why I ended up having a pretty quick experience because I had already purchased my phone outside of going to T-Mobile to get a new one. I had already purchased that phone. So when I started with the new provider, I owned that phone. So now when I traded it in, it's all profit to me because not profit, but it's right. Not like I had a lease to pay off. So I got like $90 towards this new, iPhone X or 10 or whatever the fuck they're calling it.
The XR, right? The new one.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
It's the XR. But I said the XR in the store and they're like, no, it's the 10R. And I was like, pretty sure every commercial says it's XR. And I was like, but you know what? I don't fucking care. Fuck you. Don't care. Just give me my phone. So I've been using it but man, it's just an experience that like, so I had to like leave my phone there and they're like, all right, write down all your passwords and stuff like that. And I was like, I have pictures on there. And they're like, yeah, they'll transfer to your new phone. And I was like, yeah, but you have all my and I'm 100% sure that when we pulled up to go pick up my phone and stuff for all the transfers to be done and everything like that, they were 100% looking at the pictures on my phone. Because when we walked in the door, it was one of those things like you just caught a kid jerking off and they quick like throw the blank. I'm dead serious. They dropped it in the box, closed the box up and like handed it to me. They're like, here you go. And I was like, you were 100% going through my pictures.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have anything bad on there picture wise. Nothing scandalous, but I mean, still, I don't want them like looking into my private life and stuff. And they technically have access to all my email accounts.
Well, that's why,
stuff.
It could be anything.
Yeah,
it could be just
my Apple Wallet,
fraud,
right?
Yeah, I mean,
so
who knows?
I didn't want to leave it there, but
I never heard that though. They actually wanted your passwords. I never heard
because
that before.
because they needed to finish the setup for it and stuff like that. And they told me it was going to take about an hour and a half. They told me it would take. And I was like, I seem to remember it being like pretty instantaneous before. So I waited like 15 minutes and they're like, no, it's still going. They're like, it's still about an hour left. And
So I always
like,
did it myself. I never had them do anything.
and that's
before.
the thing. Yeah, I did this because it was just easier. You can do it yourself, but it depends on how often you back up your phone. Like I hadn't backed up my phone since 2017. So
Get the fuck out of
so
here.
if I went to go back up the phone,
Oh, I have it on automatic.
yeah, it was going to take
backups.
forever to back it up. And then, so they just told me to go and buy my case and stuff like that because they wanted me to buy the $80 case that they had. And I was like, no, just go to Five Below and get a case. And they're like, yeah, but those cases are crap. And I was like, you just accepted my trade in. That phone was in a Five Below case for the past 3 or 4 years with a Five Below screen protector on it. So you keep your $80. I'll go spend $5 on a fucking case and keep this phone pristine with that. So we left, but 100%, they were fucking going through my phone, dude. They were going through my phone. I know they were.
Oh yeah.
So now I'm like checking my credit card statements and stuff like that because shit goes down. I know exactly who fucking did it. But I just hate that whole experience of like going in and buying stuff like that. Like I dread going to buy a new car because I'm going to need a new car soon. My car's on
I
its
just
last
don't
leg.
like that sales environment.
No.
They're both very comparable to me. I get very angry
And they
very,
make you- and
I
they
become
make
an
you-
asshole. I become very straightforward.
That's what I do, too.
And I'm like a
Well, they make you
dickhead.
feel like shit, right? Like they're just like, oh, you're not going to get the 5-year protection plan. Oh, you're not going to up the insurance. Like, we'll see. And it's like that's the type of stuff where they're like,
That's their sales technique.
yeah, like do you want to pay an extra $200 right now for
Oh my god.
for full replacement insurance and stuff like that? And I was like, no, thank you. I take care of my stuff pretty well. And she's like, we'll see. And it's like I wanted to reach across and like just grab her by the head and start smashing her face into the keyboard and be like, I hope you have the insurance on your face.
They fuck you with the cell phone.
It's so angry I get sometimes.
High school
Jay.
Dave would have done that.
No.
At least on the lacrosse field.
If it was a dude, I would have done that. All right, man, that's enough about like what we were doing this week. Let's find out, what are you watching?
What are you watching?
What are we watching?
I think he's trying to watch some illegal channel.
Always watching.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
All right, Jay, what did you get down to watching this week?
Well, I caught up with a couple Oscar movies that I did not see. Some small little indie films. One is Can You Ever Forgive Me? Have you seen this one, Dave? I'm not sure.
I didn't know. I know it's the Melissa McCarthy one where she is the...
Richard E. Grant, and she plays this writer, Lee Israel.
Yeah,
And
she
this is a
commits
true
fraud.
story.
She commits fraud,
She
yeah.
commits fraud. She's just down on her luck. She can't write, writer's block, whatever you want to call it. She's a big-time alcoholic. Just her and her cat in her life, and that's pretty much it. And then she meets Richard E. Grant. He's kind of like just a charming, bumbling, flamboyant guy that just has no place. You know, he's just kind of lost in the wind, and they become friends and start to become a little bit more than that when they become, partners in crime, essentially, to start fake writing letters from these great authors in the past, like love notes / apology notes, like little things that different kind of collectors would be extremely interested in and
Right, and then
purchase.
they
So
go to
she sells
auction.
them.
They go to auction. Sell for,
She sells them for $80, $300, whatever, and
that's
she's
fraud, ladies and gentlemen.
It's fraud, and it's based on a true story, and it's quite well. I mean, it's really well done because this director, I actually saw her first feature, and Marielle Heller was fantastic with The Diary of a Teenage Girl, and that was a lot of fun. So I think she's an interesting filmmaker to keep an eye on. And then also I saw At Eternity's Gate. It stars Willem Dafoe playing Da Vinci.
No, Vincent Van Gogh.
Vincent Van Gogh, sorry.
Da Vinci. Jeez, I'm leaving that in.
Fuck.
My
bad.
Stars Willem Dafoe, and he's playing one of the
those
four
dudes.
Ninja Turtles. Yeah. No, he's playing Van Gogh.
Oh, good. But this is actually directed by Julian Schnabel, Dave's favorite. Dave's favorite guy. Because guess what he directed? The Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
Of course. Schnabel. It just reminds me. It just reminds me of Thundercats. Snarf, snarf. Snarvel. Nah.
So it's a very very artsy movie.
How
It's
gruesome?
Not for everybody.
How gruesome into the ear removal do they get into? Like, do they show it like up close, just him cutting his own ear off? Because that'd be it would win some points in my book if they did that.
I wish they did. They didn't.
No.
Yeah.
Fuck it. And then they play Steelers Wheel as he's doing it. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. And he's like cutting his own ear off. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle. Shit! Ow! Damn it! I didn't think it would hurt that much.
Honestly, it's not much for the writing or the dialogue. It is a really well acted movie from Willem, but really it's just beautifully shot. It's just gorgeous to watch. You know, there's not much words being played out at all. It's just him walking beautiful country fields in the south of France, trying to discover inspiration for his paintings.
The Revenant minus the bear.
Kind of, yeah.
No talking.
And really, the enemy is his own brain, you know?
Did he grunt a lot?
To lose his mind.
That's the Revenant in 30 seconds.
Only when he's jerking off, yeah.
All right. Well, that one I wasn't interested, but I was interested in seeing Can You Ever Forgive Me? All right, man. That's great. I'm happy you were enjoying both of those at least a little bit. I haven't gotten out there and I haven't seen too many of the Academy films. I did see Black Klansman. I haven't seen Vice yet. I did see Green Book. That one I did watch right after it won Best Picture. I was like, bullshit. People were hating on this movie so much. How did this win? So I had to watch it. It's not a bad movie. I just wasn't crazy about the message of that movie. Like, it very much
that was the controversy.
I understand that was and that was my problem, where it's just like I felt like it was Mahershala Ali's character's story, but he's best supporting actor, and I was like, but it's his story. But fucking White Man Jones over here gets to throw a few punches, drink some beers, eat some food, and he's the star.
Because his boys wrote the script.
I know.
Not the script, but or a book or something like that, or co-writers of the script or something like that. And that's partially why. It's from the white man's point of view.
I understand that. And look,
But I reviewed this earlier, and everybody knows I said, like, I give it a high grade. I love the movie. I thought it was perfectly done. They made it look effortless. I don't care. I really enjoyed the movie. I'm not displeased that it won. But I wasn't blown away. Like, it didn't knock my socks off kind of a film.
No, so, it definitely didn't do that. And I didn't think Viggo Mortensen was particularly strong in it. I think Mahershala Ali was, but he seems to be just fantastic in fucking everything. So he seems,
I love them both.
He seems to raise the movie, every movie he's in, up by a couple octaves every time he's in it.
He's been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was directed by Peter Farrelly, of the Farrelly brothers, as in of There's Something About Mary and Dumb and Dumber. And it's just so weird. And it's like, I know how powerful they are in Hollywood. They have a lot of like friends. It's just strange to see Peter Farrelly like getting away from like those type of movies and going into this. It's almost like Adam McKay doing the same thing that he's doing over there.
Kind of. Yeah.
Peter Farrelly's been around for a whole lot longer though. But yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. I just found it mostly blasé and kind of like a cookie cutter filter of that world.
I get that. I understand that. This is a crowd pleaser.
Exactly. But there's definitely better movies that were nominated. And we'll get into some of that in the news. Jay, other than that, I watched Anna and the Apocalypse. I was going to watch The Favorite last night, and instead I saw that Anna and the Apocalypse was available on demand, and I was like, I'm going to watch that instead. This is a film that came out in 2017, and it's kind of like if Shaun of the Dead met Glee.
Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, girl. What's he do? Just say bass or freeze.
And it's a musical zombie apocalypse film that takes place around Christmas time. And I had heard so many good things about it that I went into it wanting to love it. And I'm not sure if hype killed me on it, but I did really enjoy it. It just wasn't as gut-bustingly funny as everyone said it was.
What kind of music?
Very, very top 40 type pop. It's a musical, but it's very top 40 type. It was like Glee. Like, that's what I felt like. Okay. It was like Glee. But all the songs were pretty darn good in it. The zombie gore was pretty good, and the story was just very teenage kid, zombie apocalypse. Like, the main bad guy's the principal, right? Like, so like.
And this came out last year?
This came out in 2017.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, it's a Scottish film, so it was released.
Yeah, it flew under my radar.
Released overseas. It was released here in 2018 during Christmas time this year, but it was in very select theaters. It was at Neshaminy for a Friday and Saturday night, and then it was gone. So it was only around us for 2 nights, and then it was gone. So it was
only
one of those,
the AMC employees actually watched it.
Right,
probably.
right.
That's it.
I mean, I did enjoy it a lot, but it just wasn't as fantastic as like it was pretty much sold to me. But it definitely will make it into like my Christmas movie rotation. Like, it's not up there with Gremlins. It's not that good, but I could definitely give it another go a few times. All right, Jay, other than that, me and you got a similar thing that we watched. We both watched True Detective season 3 finale. How did you feel about that one?
Well, a lot was going on in this one episode. A lot.
So episodes 1 through 7, they've been like developing this deep, sticky web of this mystery. And every time we think we're getting close, the thread gets plucked and we get pulled into another direction.
Right.
But it's been really effective
but also,
storytelling.
Like 4 different timelines too, that they just jump around.
That has never been confusing to me.
It never. No, I agree. It didn't confuse me too much, luckily. But still, it gets sometimes annoying, especially in this final episode.
They did the same thing in season 1, probably less so.
But there was only 2 different timelines.
There was 3.
Okay.
There was 3. Yeah, because you had them when they were younger, then you had them being interviewed sort of in the middle, and then you had them older. And this was very much the same. There is technically 4 different timelines, but it was never confusing to me. And I think that honestly went to show a greater character development for each of them by the time we're dealing with Stephen Dorff's character and Mahershala Ali's character when they're older.
Yes, exactly. But by the very end, you piece it all together, and certain kind of character traits make sense later on, and they fill in the holes. But they fill in all the holes and then sprinkle in a little bit of suspense and mystery at the end.
But what I mean, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but Mahershala Ali's character he's suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's or some sort of degenerative brain disorder, and that is the reason why the story's being told the way it is, because he's kind of both living in the past and the present at the same time,
right?
Which is why the story is the way it is. It's just the use of that towards the end I wasn't crazy about, because it got very...
It was a little bit of a cop-out.
It got very Dr. Manhattan. I had no clue what timeline I'm really dealing with at this point. And we had 2 big things that were big character moments for Mahershala Ali. His wife either passing or leaving, but I'm pretty sure they mentioned she's dead.
She died, yeah.
And his daughter leaving. You do not find out what happened with either of them. Right. At all. But you do get to solve the mystery. However, the main character technically doesn't. Because he goes there to solve the mystery with the full intent.
Yeah, that's a borderline spoiler right there. But
of blowing this shit wide open, and he forgets. He goes up there and has a little dementia moment.
But at the same time,
it was fitting.
It works, and it's fitting.
It was fitting.
I give him a lot of credit. It was very creative. There was just so much going on in this episode.
But this show that has been, each episode's been an hour. This one was 75 minutes. And they easily could have done this in 45 minutes, and I probably would have, because there was just so much filler that was in this episode, and they really just tried to wrap everything up as quickly as possible.
The filler was really just filling in old questions and old holes and all like questions that we had about previous episodes or previous suspects, you can say too, and it was weird to watch for me. I don't know. It just didn't feel like all the other episodes.
But what was weird to me is what they chose, what threads they chose to tie up and what threads they left open. I'm like, none of that makes sense. Like, why? Like, we care about the characters at this point more than we actually care about them solving this case. So to not wrap up some of their character storylines and to leave them wide open, but to wrap up these suspects who we knew weren't suspects at all in there. And at no point there is something where both Mahershala Ali and Stephen Dorff's character, they commit a pretty heinous crime. They don't. I won't tell anyone what it is, but they do commit a pretty heinous crime. No comeuppance for that whatsoever. No repercussions for that whatsoever. No one even sniffs around that at all, with the exception of the interview, the lady who's interviewing him for TV, and she dropped that back in episode 5.
Yeah.
So
that was it. But I mean, I don't know.
It was a disappointing ending, is what it comes down to.
It was definitely a little disappointing. I give them credit. Overall, the story they went for broke.
Still far better than season 2 of True Detective.
Yes, this is still the second.
And I'm still in for a 4th season.
Oh, for sure.
I'm still in.
For sure.
I don't
I'm happy with HBO. They actually said after the fact that they are open to a 4th season, but they're not rushing anything. It's all up to Nick. He has to be completely inspired and write this whole series again. So maybe one day we will. Maybe 5 years from now. Maybe never.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
we'll see.
No matter what, it's well acted. They did a great job with suspense, and they did do a great job of setting up this mystery and you taking this ride with them. It's just it does leave you unsatisfied in the end.
But it was nice seeing Stephen Dorff and Mahershala Ali actually have like a proper bond.
Stephen Dorff was good in this.
They did a really good job. Yeah, very, very solid. Very solid.
Absolutely. I don't think it was as strong as Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
But it's just, that's what I mean. It's just, it was very solid. There was not much confrontation. I mean, the confrontation that comes up, it was very mild.
Yeah.
And they always just kind of,
But this is the reason we got to our top 5 for this week, was top 5 endings, because we got so disappointed by this ending. We just have to move on and remember some good endings that we have gotten. All right, Jay, let's head over and let's get into our news. And now it's time for the news. All right, Jay, we got a couple brief news stories that we're going to be running through before we get into our Oscars talk, because I see that as kind of like movie news, the Oscars. So first up, John Krasinski has confirmed that A Quiet Place 2 is in development, and the release date will be May 15th, 2020. Do you think he's going to be in it?
He's directing it. I know that.
He's directing it. I don't think there's much confirmation on whether it's going to involve the same family or whether they're going to be following different people. I think I'd rather follow different people this time around.
I remember when this first got released, they actually said that'd be a great way to follow it up.
Yeah.
Is to follow other different kind of families.
That story felt pretty closed and felt pretty good given what we were given. So I wouldn't want to go back to it. But yeah, I guess the world itself is interesting. I was never crazy about the creature design, so I'm hoping they do something a little bit not different, but like it seemed very oily, very blobby, and for some reason their face reminded me a lot of Stephen King's The Langoliers, and I never liked The Langoliers. So, but I'm certainly interested in this. I don't know if this. I know it was a hit, and that's why it warrants a sequel. But I don't know if creatively if this really needs a sequel at all. Sometimes I like horror films, especially ones like this, to just be one-offs, right? Like Hereditary was a big success this year. Do you want to see Hereditary 2? Is there any interest in that? Not really. There's really no story there. And I kind of feel the same way about A Quiet Place.
Look, I mean, it's one of those things where, we're getting these solid horror movies, original movies. Be thankful. We don't need to have a sequel.
Exactly.
Just keep bringing up these original movies.
Right. I would rather see, John Krasinski say like, yeah, that's cool. I have another one. I have another idea. It's kind of in the vein of that, and let's do this, but it's not that. But
which could be Quiet Place too.
It's probably
it could be a completely different kind of tone. It could be a whole different kind of setting, city, whatever. We just don't know.
We'll see. I'm not terribly excited about this, but I get why they're making it.
Money, 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 money.
Hubba, hubba, hubba. Money, money, money. Who do you trust?
Next news story. Kevin Feige has confirmed that the Black Widow movie will not be rated R.
I never really thought it would.
At no point was I ever like, Marvel's going to make a rated R movie. No, because Disney's already said rated R movies are going to be under the Fox banner. So unless they were going to be releasing Black Widow under the Fox banner, it wasn't going to be rated R. At no point was I ever like, oh, maybe it'll be rated R. Why would it be?
I don't get it.
They portrayed the character in umpteenth films in a PG-13 setting. Why would they then change it and make it a super gritty, like blood-filled, whatever, like
that's
sexy, steamy.
That's what Red Sparrow was with Jennifer Lawrence.
Right,
that's essentially what that was,
and that did so well.
Actually, financially did overseas.
Next news story. No one cares about overseas numbers, Jay. Not here, not in the US of A, because we're making it great again.
We have an international crowd, David. We have to cater to all people in the world.
Yeah, barely. All right. Aquaman's Yahya Abdul-Mateen II has been cast in Jordan Peele's next film, the remake of Candyman, which I like Candyman. I like Jordan Peele. I don't like remakes. I'm not crazy about it. However, I do feel like this does fall into the category of remakes that you would want to see, like a remake that feels justified, like it,
or at least from him,
like it felt justified in a remake because the original one, while much loved,
still
very dated.
Yeah,
and that's the same thing with Candyman, a much loved horror film, but it feels dated. And then you get a visionary like Jordan Peele behind it. You get a guy like that behind it, and it all seems great. It's not anything I asked for, but then it's like I'm kind of happy that I'm getting it.
This actor has a good presence.
He really does.
I think he did a really good job with Aquaman.
We talked about a couple weeks ago, like if they were ever to make like a prequel with Morpheus to the Matrix, who could be him? And I said Fisher from who played Cyborg in Justice League.
He would be a great one too.
Yeah. Why not Yahya Abdul-Mateen II?
Yeah,
I just love saying that name.
It's something.
I'm surprised that it took me as long to learn how to say his name as it took me to say Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh yeah,
Chewa Mama Funham, what guy? That guy.
Or Kevin Feige, right, Dave?
Kevin Feige. It's funny because I still hear news outlets saying Kevin Feige or Feige
or
Feige, and it's like I'm pretty sure it's Feige, and like it to the point that it confuses me at times.
Right.
All right, next news story. So, Jay, you might know that there's been a little bit of controversy over Rotten Tomatoes' audience rating system. Audiences have been able to kind of like rate films before they even come out. So, Rotten Tomatoes has kind of changed that rule. They have changed how they handle their audience rating scores. What they did was they removed the option for people to be able to put an audience score on anything before a film has come out. So, you won't be able to leave an audience review until the movie's release date. It won't stop trolls from trolling, but
I like it
because trolls gonna troll.
This is my daughter at the triathlon today. Go, little girl.
Your daughter has a mustache. What the hell is wrong with your ovaries, bitch?
You've been dick slapped.
But it will stop that early, tanked number because
the Twitter negative,
exactly.
The wildfire that just kind of grows and grows and grows.
But this actually comes out of a very specific thing. There has been a bunch of people going on there and basically tanking Captain Marvel's numbers before it comes out, mainly in reaction to a lot of Brie Larson's comments. A lot of the comments are kind of very anti-woman, very, very, very anti-progressive, just not all around PC. They're going on there and they're tanking it for a lot of that stuff before the film has even come out. And
it's a little surprising to some degree. I mean, I obviously said through many of our episodes that I'm not a big fan of this trailers. I mean, for the movie. However, I'm optimistic. I still want to see a good movie. I'm excited to see it. I'm just saying, as far as so far with the marketing material, I haven't been like blown away.
I went through, and a lot of the early reviews, the comments were that Brie Larson is a B, or Brie Larson's this, or Brie Larson's that, or this does not jive with how I picture a woman. And a lot of it is also DCEU lovers who don't like Marvel also in there, but more so than that,
some people just don't like women in power.
More so than that, there was a lot of what you were saying. The marketing for this looks like shit. And they've even said like, the marketing is problematic. Like they don't understand, what's different about it, but they understand that the marketing is not catching as many people as they would like. It's still projecting huge opening weekend numbers, but the marketing for it, I think because there's so much in it that is spoilerific that there's not a whole lot that they can show us in trailers.
Plus, there's a lot of questions too. The average movie person doesn't understand why she would punch an old lady.
Right.
For example, so it's like, what the hell is going on here?
And that's problematic. And I think maybe, explaining what scrolls are to a general audience beforehand might help. It's
tricky. It's tricky. There's a lot of new things that we're going to be taught in this movie to know before Endgame.
Either way, Rotten Tomatoes should have made this change long ago.
True.
Long before it became a problem in this sense, before it became a media storm problem, long before it became a political correctness problem, long before that, they should have changed it. For me, I don't go to Rotten Tomatoes for anything at all.
I do once in a while.
I don't see the reason to.
I do out of curiosity once in a while. That's about it.
I never do. I have never been enriched by anything on Rotten Tomatoes. But for the main part, I'm not even reading a review until I've already done my own review. Unless it's a movie I know I don't want to see, then I'll read a review for it. But for the most part, I stay away from reviews. I know we reviewed things on this, and I'm not asking people to agree with me or not agree with me, but I stay away from reviews. I do prefer to form my own opinion on things. So
yeah, no, I understand.
All right, next news story. All right, Jay, the Oscars were Sunday night, and this is the first time they didn't have a host. So what did you like them not having a host? Did you feel that it was...
I actually did. I thought it worked pretty well, actually. They you could tell they thought this through quite a bit as far as timing wise, how to set it up. Ryan Seacrest beforehand, being in the show, cut to commercial break, and then boom, Queen's opening up with some music. Adam Lambert's not the greatest, he's not my favorite kind of singer, but it did bring some energy to life. And then boom, all of a sudden you cut to everyone's three favorite girls, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, and Maya Rudolph.
See, to me, the show was just...
I thought it was fine.
The show was just as shit without a host as it was with hosts. I still was not entertained by the show. There was one entertaining moment, and it's when Regina King went to get up to accept her award. Her dress got caught, and Captain America swings into the rescue and helps her. I love that.
Captain Captain.
But for the most part, I really found myself only caring about who won and who lost. There were some moments that I can only enjoy by watching it. Like when Olivia Colman did her acceptance speech. That was charming as all get out. I absolutely loved it. And I love when she holds it up, she goes, "'Cause this is never happening again."
She is hilarious.
I was like, so true. Well, she is hilarious. She was Doris in Hot Fuzz.
Quite like a little midnight gobble.
Hawks.
Everyone wants a little girl on girl action. I love her in Hot Fuzz, and I didn't even realize it was her because Hot Fuzz was so long ago. So I only realized that after I looked it up and I checked her IMDb, and I was like, "What else has this lady been in?" And I was like, "Holy shit, she's Doris in Hot Fuzz." I enjoy some of the speeches and stuff like that because of those little moments that make you smile, make you laugh, or even sometimes make you tear up a little bit. But as far as the hosting and who was up there presenting, I didn't give a flying fuck, like, at all. Like, the show was still boring to me overall.
They always are.
I just don't...
I mean, it is. It's an awkward show.
It's not like I'm expecting, like, gunfire and fucking fireworks and, like, can dancers and all that shit.
That's what's so surprising to me, that after all this time, people still critique it so much. We're like, well, it's exactly what it is every single year.
There are tons of people who watch the red carpet and then shut it off.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
That's it. Red carpet, what's he wearing, what's she wearing?
Pretty much my mom, yeah.
It's done. I don't care anymore.
They're all there for the dresses,
But I'm glad that you liked it more. It seems like a lot of people actually did like this whole no host format more, and they are going to probably continue this. I think this is the
curious
direction
to see what they do with it.
I think this is the direction that they're going to be going in. But as far as some of the winners and stuff like that, I thought that Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, I thought both of those were well earned. There was no upset there, right?
Right. I've always liked Regina King quite a bit.
Yes.
So you've been seeing her around for so long. She still looks fantastic.
She's a
great speech.
She's a character actress.
She is.
And you know, she put in a great performance, and you know, she got rewarded for it. And that's what every character performer hopes to one day do. Win a Best Supporting Actor or Actress award. And then actor and actress, I thought both of them were well too.
Olivia Colman was the big surprise. A lot of people thought Glenn Close was going to win it for The Wife
because she's never won it,
right? And it was a great performance from an okay movie. And she,
but see, I actually celebrate the Academy for that because I have accused the Academy several times of like you're giving people legacy awards for bodies of work that not this movie.
And sometimes I don't mind that, if the performance really warrants it.
Right, but what if
Alan Arkin for winning for Little Miss Sunshine? It's like, come on.
Dude, Alan Arkin's great in Little Miss Sunshine.
I'm not saying he's great.
This is the voice of experience talking. Are you listening? Fuck a lot of women, Dwayne. Hey. Not just one woman. Dad. A lot of women.
I'm not saying he's not great. He was great, but he didn't really do or have to do that much acting.
100%. He did a fantastic job in that movie.
Not an Oscar-winning performance.
You're out of your mind.
Oh my god.
You're out of your mind.
Please.
He's Alan Arkin. Get out of here, you crazy bastard. You should have won for The Rocketeer. You fucking nuts.
Mark Rylance. I would have rather seen Sylvester Stallone win for Creed over Mark Rylance.
Okay.
But Rami Malek won for Best Actor.
Okay, and that I didn't,
which was expected.
I think that was expected because the only thing in that movie to really like love is Rami Malek's performance.
Yeah, besides the music.
Yeah, I mean, like I really enjoyed that movie. I really enjoyed the music.
Yeah.
But the thing to like watch and go like, that's amazing is Rami Malek's performance. So that makes sense to me.
However, again, I still believe that Bradley Cooper deserved it more than him because he was playing an original musician who was literally performing live on stage. Rami was just lip syncing.
Jay, it's not the American fucking Music Awards. It's the Academy Awards. It's about acting. It's not whether you got up there and strummed the fucking same four chords over and over again.
Too.
You're fucking nuts.
I'm saying acting too. He was better than Rami.
Get off your fucking high horse with that fucking movie. Everyone forgot about that movie by the time the Academy Awards came around, and so did the Academy. Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm still rewatching that performance with him and Lady Gaga.
Best adapted screenplay, Black Klansman went to Spike Lee. I think that's earned. I think that's deserved. I think that honestly he probably should have gotten Best Director, but Alfonso Cuarón also deserved that as well. So and I was not upset with that win at all because Roma, for anything else, for even if you don't love it, you can watch that movie on mute and just appreciate its fucking beauty.
Absolutely.
And that all comes from Alfonso Cuarón,
and he obviously won Best Cinematographer.
Best Cinematographer. So it's all there. And then finally, Best Film.
Mm-hmm.
I already kind of
touched on that.
Kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah,
was not happy with that. I honestly would have been happier with Black Klansman or Black Panther.
Okay.
Either one of those two. But we did reach out to our listeners, and I wanted them to give us their feedback. So let's do a question of the week, Jay.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
It just raises too many questions.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything.
I wanted to know, what did you think of this year's Oscars? Was there any movie nominated for Best Picture that you truly loved? Was there any film that wasn't nominated that should have been? Let us know. And people did let us know. Movie Reviews in 20 Questions podcast said, I could name about 4 other films that should have been nominated ahead of some of these. Would have been happy with Roma, The Favorite, or Black Klansman taking it. Wasn't happy with Green Book, pretty much. So he wasn't happy with Green Book winning, and neither are we. I didn't think Green Book was all that strong, unfortunately. Let's Rewatch said, definitely Black Klansman for me. It was so well done. Sean from WDIM podcast, he said mid-90s, man. He wanted mid-90s to have been nominated. Now, you saw mid-90s. I unfortunately haven't gotten out there to see it yet. I am interested in it because I love that.
I told you to see it. Yeah.
I love that Larry Clarkness of it. I love the fact that it's
right.
a lot like Kids, and it's a film that I really respect
and it's our
enjoy.
era that we grew up in.
Absolutely. So I do want to see it, but do you think that it should have been nominated? Do you think it could have fit into the category?
Not at all.
Because they can nominate up to 10. You always say it's mathematically impossible.
Not even close.
But there's only 8 nominated, so they still could have at least nominated one more in there. The IMDb Journey podcast wanted us to know Bohemian Rhapsody was shit. 8th Grade and Blindspotting should have gotten a nomination. Now, I remember you saw Blindspotting.
I love Blindspotting.
You loved it. Do you think good enough to have been nominated here? Do you think it could have replaced any of these films?
It's a little indie experimental in some ways, where it's hard for me to say that it would actually make it to a Best Picture nomination.
Okay.
I think I had it on my number 2 or number 3 for the year for me. I really did enjoy the hell out of it. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if it should have replaced, obviously Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, just take that one out.
Just take that one out.
Just take that one out altogether.
Right. The Contrarians podcast said Team Roma here. So they're Team Roma all the way. And they wish that the 8th Grade had gotten a little bit of Oscar love, which I thought was a little bit surprising that it didn't, since it got so much Golden Globe love.
Yeah, a little surprising. But I think a lot of older members in the Academy just can't really get it. You know, it's 8th grade, girls, modern technology. They probably don't even have a fucking iPhone.
Matt Walsh wanted us to know that he enjoyed BlacKkKlansman very much, but he watched Bohemian Rhapsody and thought it was meh. And I think story-wise, Bohemian Rhapsody's meh. But music-wise and acting from Rami Malek, it's really good.
Yeah.
So I think it was well represented in those categories. I don't think it needed to be nominated for Best Picture, though. Wesley Younger of the VHS podcast, my co-host and partner who does Good Morning Mose Eisley with me, he said, fake outrage over fake awards given by fake-ass people. He's going after my heart here because he knows exactly how I feel about awards. I fucking hate them. The St. Paul Film Cast said he was rooting for BlacKkKlansman. Funny, smart, poignant, well written, and acted. Highly relative to now. Lee's best since Malcolm X. And I think that's 100% true. I think this was Spike Lee's best film since Malcolm X. And my favorite Spike Lee film is Do the Right Thing. And I think this was just as poignant and had as much to say as that did. So I still think it winning Best Adapted Screenplay was justified. I would have preferred to have seen it win Best Picture, though, because I did enjoy that a whole lot more than Green Book. Drew, over at the Real Feels podcast, said, Can You Ever Forgive Me was a fantastic film, and he was sad to see it wasn't at least nominated for Best Film. You saw that? Do you think it should have been nominated for Best Film?
I think it could have.
Okay.
It could have. It was really well done, but at the same time, it doesn't carry that kind of weight that I think an Academy Award nominated Best Picture movie usually has.
Fair enough. By Curian, I also don't think they really campaigned for that movie too hard, if at all.
It was all for Richard E. Grant for Best Supporting Actor and Melissa McCarthy for the acting.
Yeah. Bicurian said he was really rooting for Black Panther to win. It was so powerful, so well done, and I loved it. While I knew Black Panther wasn't going to win, I was happy to see it nominated here because I do think it's one of the best Marvel films, if not the best Marvel film that has come out. And I think it's the first Marvel film that actually had a real, or at least attempted to have a real message behind it. Mm-hmm. And I think it didn't just have a message or attempt to have a message, it delivered on it as well. And I think it just being nominated is good in and of itself. Duty over at the Shaken Not Nerd podcast, he said, where the fuck was Creed 2? Oscar-worthy performances and extras were on point.
Fuck yeah.
That's right, Jay. You were
Where's my residual check?
Yeah,
seriously.
I don't think Creed 2 could have been nominated for Best Film. However, I do think that Michael B. Jordan could have been nominated for a Best Actor for this.
If they lit me better, I think they could have gotten in.
But and even Stallone could have gotten another Best Supporting Actor nomination here because I thought his performance in Creed 2 was better than his performance in Creed 1.
I think I agree. I agree with that.
But I think I think why wasn't and this, I was wondering this, why wasn't Michael B. Jordan nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Black Panther? Because I feel like that's the performance that he could have won an Oscar for. Because his performance
Disney gave up on that bandwagon.
Really?
They just kind of stayed with the Black Panther for Best Picture nomination.
Damn, because I think he could. I don't know whether he would have won, but I think he would have had a strong
they initially
showing
started campaigning for it, and they just stopped. Maybe because they just realized, or they just did the math. They probably just realized there was no shot. There's no point.
The Bit Geek podcast said he thought 8th grade was very unfairly ignored because it was fantastic. Tom Hanks Defense Force said Jack says Beautiful Boy and Widows. Both of them were snubbed. Neither one of them got.
I could see Timothée Chalamet being nominated for.
I saw a Beautiful Boy.
That's about it.
I was not crazy about it.
No. It's just they're too bleak of a film, both of them.
Not only that,
and Widows, I didn't care about any of the women in the movie. The characters were so, bland.
Come on, drug addiction stories. That's so 1990s. We're over this, or early 2000s. The Academy doesn't care about those.
It's a heist movie. Oh, I mean, Beautiful Boy. Yeah.
I'm talking about Beautiful Boy.
Sorry. Yeah.
I never wanted to see Widows. I don't care about Widows. I'm never going to see Widows.
I did, but. Wasn't happy, but
maybe someday you can sign me for a movie homework and I can watch it. Like I finally got around to seeing Sicario 6 years later. All right, Leonardo Matar Montiero. He said Sensei James Wan for Aquaman. Aquaman should have been nominated, and I think for sure it should have been at least nominated for costumes, design, and effects. And I'm surprised it wasn't nominated in one of those categories. However, it being nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, any of that stuff, no. Absolutely not. He went on to say a little bit more, bashing Marvel and stuff like that, bashing Disney, calling it the Disney cancer and stuff. I don't respond to that stuff. I don't get into it. I don't get into the whole war between the two. I want good movies from both of them, period. And that's it.
Yeah.
And one of them's making better movies than the other one, not saying who.
Everybody knows.
Jessica Buda said A Quiet Place and First Man should have been nominated for Best Picture.
Thank you. I definitely agree. I think First Man, I literally just watched it again. I actually bought it. I realized that this movie was horribly ignored.
I think all the sound editing that was done on it was
phenomenal.
I think those were justified wins.
I was cursing like a sailor when Bohemian Rhapsody won both of those categories, but thank God it won for Best Visual Effects or something. They won one award, thankfully. But just in general, though, I mean, at the very least, it still deserved to be a nominee for Best Picture because it definitely was. It was warranted. It's a great movie, and I'm getting more and more out of it the more I see it. I mean, I've only seen it 3 times, but still.
I mean, I've only seen it 3 times. Hey, man, look.
I really did like it.
I saw Annihilation a bunch of times this year. You know, it's my favorite film of the year. However, I recognize that that's not a Best Picture nomination, but its score should have been nominated for Best Score.
I think I agree with you, man. I loved it. I did. Very cool. And at the very end, that scene.
Oh my God.
It's morphing.
So good. So good.
Oh my God. It's so loud. And I remember it echoing in the theater. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is so awesome.
Every bass beat's giving me a new orgasm. This is amazing. No, that score should have been nominated, and in my mind won. That was the film score of the year. So that is what you guys thought of the Oscars. That is what we thought of the Oscars. I know Jay will continue sucking Oscar dick all day long up until next year. He's going to have to wipe all the gold off around the side of his lips. Me, however, I still think they were pretty shit. I still don't care. In fact, Jay, I didn't care about the Oscars so much that right around the time True Detective season finale was coming on, I shut the Oscars off. I still recorded the Oscars, but what I did was I just fast forwarded through all the shit I didn't care about because there's so much of that. It's 3.5 hours long.
True.
No one needs it.
True.
No one needs it.
True.
So coming up next, I got a 5-minute-ish review to do for How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World.
dragons when I was a boy. Where they went, only a few know. Our story changed the world forever. We did it! The world's first dragon Viking utopia. Hey, bud, wait up! Oh my God, he's not the only one.
She's a light fury. Toothless has a girlfriend.
I've hunted every night fury except yours. Hand him over.
I will never give him up.
Then I will destroy everything you love.
We are no longer safe here. We all have to disappear, completely off the map. We have to fight for their freedom. Come on, bud!
You're nothing without your dragon.
Attack! Show them what you got, bud.
So the synopsis goes like this. Hiccup and his band of merry dragon riders have experienced a prolonged time of peace after the events of How to Train Your Dragon 2. Hiccup is now the chief of Berk, which has become a utopia of sorts for dragons and humans alike. That is until Hiccup and the citizens of Berk must leave after running afoul of yet another group of dragon hunters. Oh, Toothless has a girlfriend too.
Ooh.
All right, Jay. So How to Train Your Dragon. I absolutely love this series. Like, first and foremost, I want to get that out of the way because I feel like I'm not sure, I might have some bias in going into this review because I do love that this series so much. I really do love the characters, and it's something I've bonded with my daughter over with the first two entries. And you know, we both love the series. She doesn't call it How to Train Your Dragon. She just calls it Dragon Movies, but you know, she gets it. And Logan did come with me and my wife to see it in the theater. It's not that How to Train Your Dragon 3 is a bad movie. The animation is fantastic. The voice actors are all great as well. I mean, this voice cast, I just find a lot of them charming at this point. Jay Baruchel, America Ferrera, F. Murray Abraham plays the villain this time around. Cate Blanchett, Gerard Butler, Craig Ferguson, Jonah Hill, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, Kristen Wiig, Kit Harington. You get it.
Anything with Craig Ferguson.
Anything with Craig Ferguson.
I'm on board.
So you get it. The voice cast is pretty darn great as well. And this time, it being the third film in the series, the characters feel extremely well worn and kind of like comfortable. You know, you kind of feel like you're coming home from college for the holidays, and everyone seems to be right where we left them, just a little older. Their mission has remained exactly the same. They are still fighting against those that would do harm to dragons, pretty much. And I think that is one of the nice things about the film. Like I talked about the voice actors. Oh, this is the third time around for a lot of these voice actors. They feel really comfortable with these characters, and you know, you can't picture anyone else being them, with the exception of TJ Miller, who was dropped in this movie. He's no longer back for the third one, and I think we all know why TJ Miller isn't back in the kids' film.
Yeah.
So they are still fighting off people who capture, kill, or do harm to dragons. And it's in that capacity that they meet their next villain, Grimmel. And he was voiced by F. Murray Abraham, who has a fantastic voice, just an absolutely fantastic voice. And this character, Grimmel, uses different tactics than we have seen others use before to catch dragons. But as a villain, he's not all that impressive. Even up to the final showdown, I was not impressed with him as a villain, nor did I really feel that the weight of his prowess at all. They did try to do like sort of like this interesting thing where he is kind of like the reverse of Hiccup. You know, he found the Night Fury once and killed it, where Hiccup found the Night Fury and saved it. So they kind of do like these two sides of the same coin. It's like duality. Like this villain is the opposite of Hiccup. You know, it's very easily the villain that Hiccup could have become. But the final act of the film felt really rushed, and Grimmel seemed pretty quickly dispatched to allow for more of a final ending for the characters. And at least for me, it got a little emotional. So while the villain may not have been impressive, the conclusion of the film was like those final 10 minutes I really found endearing, and it felt right. It felt emotionally gratifying, and it felt finite. Like, I felt watching this, it's not going to be touched again. This is it. How to Train Your Dragon's over. And if it isn't, I'm going to be pretty upset because they ended it in a way that was pretty fitting. So How to Train
That's what they say about Toy Story.
I hope so. Yeah, Toy Story 3 should not be, that should be the end. That should have been the end.
And now we have a fourth one coming out this year.
But How to Train Your Dragon 3 is all about that final step taken into adulthood. You know, when the film starts, Hiccup and his friends are adults. They are adults in age only, but they haven't completed their full metamorphosis into adulthood. And when the film concludes, you feel satisfied on their overall story arc collectively. It's fitting because the original film came out in 2010, and here we are now in 2019, and many of those kids are in their late adolescence to early adulthood. So the film seems to have emotionally grown along with them as well. Overall, the film itself is great. It just has some minor flaws in it. You know, how many times can you do people hunting dragons and these guys stopping them and keeping it interesting? The real interesting part of this was Hiccup coming into his own, and also his dragon Toothless coming into his own. And
how would you rank the three?
Oh, very easily. How to Train Your Dragon 2, How to Train Your Dragon 1, How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Okay.
How to Train Your Dragons 2. That's where Hiccup's at the end of his adolescence and learns to deal with great loss. So it's, yeah.
Okay. Enough said.
I give How to Train Your Dragon The Hidden World an A-, where I think I gave the original one an A and the second one an A+. So they're all A's. You know.
Look, I'm impressed. I mean, I know this is a beloved series for you.
It is. It really is. And I understand, you know, the villain that they used and stuff like that. I just felt like they didn't sell it enough on me. But I'm an adult watching this, and I'm an adult reviewing this. My daughter loved it. She didn't give a shit about any of that stuff.
That's a good point.
Toothless still flew. And there was another Toothless. There was a Night Fury and there was a Light Fury. And you know, my daughter just kept saying, "That's Toothless's girlfriend. That's Toothless's girlfriend." And I was like, "It is. Yes, calm down." And she's like, "Toothless has a girlfriend." Like, she's just excited to see a new dragon, right?
Yeah.
Like where me, like, I'm kind of picking it apart in different ways, but I still think it's enjoyable. I think if you like the other ones, you have to go see this one. I think you should go see it in the theater. We saw it in digital. Totally worth it. Absolutely fantastic visuals in it, and the animation's still on point. And kind of sad to see it go, but it's one of those things where, like, after watching this one, I was like, it's time.
So who has a better beard, you or the lead actor?
Oh, he only has a beard at the end, Jay.
Oh, at the end.
Yeah, this is my adulthood beard. That's Hiccup's adulthood beard. I grew this when I became an adult and got married. He gets one when he becomes an adult, so. Okay. All right, so coming up next, me and Jay got to get to some beer reviews and shed an indie pod spotlight on another fantastic podcast. Let's get some beers because I'm fucking thirsty. Welcome back to the beer segment. Me and Jay got two beers that we are going to be reviewing for you, but before we do that, we got to drop a line to our sponsor, Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. What it is it's 2 tablets that you drop into 8 to 12 ounces of water. You drink that water down, and your hangover starts to feel better. So if you went to a comedy show like Jay did, and you got heckled so badly that you just had to drink the pain away, and then you wake up with a little bit of a hangover the next day, you want to make sure that you have yourself some Blowfish on hand. Head over to 4hangovers.com and use the promo code SMBFish to get your 15% off. All right, Jay, before we start reviewing our beers, we are still showing some love to the lady pods. We got another podcast that is hosted by all women, and this podcast is part of our Podfix network. This is the Two Girls on a Bench podcast.
Yes.
Let me have them tell you what they're all about.
Hi, this is Two Girls on a Bench, the podcast. So we're two writers who tend to procrastinate just a bit.
We like to snack. We like to talk.
We don't have time to write, but we have time to do this podcast.
We certainly do. Join us on the bench.
Listen in.
At number 2 Girls on a Bench.
All right, so that's Two Girls on a Bench. And that's exactly what they're all about, Jay. They are two professional writers who, we all know about writer's block. We all know that writers they can't always be on. They can't always be producing content all the time. I mean, unless they're Stephen King. Then they apparently can always be producing new content. But this is what they do in their free time when they're not writing. This is how they procrastinate doing their job.
I love it.
So they do snack challenges. They do a lot of listener feedback, listener questions and stuff like that.
Very cool.
And it's just two lovely ladies having a chat.
You can't get much better than that.
Generally,
right?
I like to think they're like us. They sit around bullshit.
Yeah,
drinking, maybe.
They just kind of recorded a little bit more.
They're both mothers, so that bleeds into the show a whole lot. But I thought it interesting. Last week we talked about someone who read. Their podcast was all about reading books. It's a podcast. It's all about writing, sort of. Sort of.
An afternoon glass of Chardonnay, maybe. And,
absolutely.
Some spilled apple juice on their dress. I don't know.
So make sure that you check out Two Girls on a Bench. You can find them on iTunes and any other podcatcher. You can also check them out over on podfixnetwork.com. All right, Jay, we got two beers that we got to review. Why don't you tell everyone about the beer that you're drinking?
I have Foreign Objects Wet Gravity. It is a new American hoppy ale. 7% alcohol by volume.
Wet Gravity sounds like fat people having sex.
I love it.
Doesn't it?
I love this company. It's so great. And the beer again is very, very, very juicy. It reminds me of summer again. It's like this beautiful, hazy, unfiltered kind of ale that just hits my mouth in all the right ways. It's slightly dry hopped and it has a lot of great kind of fruity flavors to it. There's some mango flavor in there, I know, some passion fruit, and it really goes down smooth. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to give it a 4.25 out of 5.
All right, man. And I am drinking the Licking Hole Creek Craft Brewing Company's
Say what?
Juicy Indian Pale Ale. And
it's a fun can.
Licking Hole Creek is out of Goochland, Virginia. I can't tell if they're just fucking with us or if Virginia has fucked up names like Pennsylvania does, because Pennsylvania has Middlesex, Blue Ball, Bird in Hand, and we got all these very sexual innuendo.
Transylvania, yeah.
Transylvania. That's not in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
That's not for real. That's in Eastern Europe.
Okay,
it's actually a real place.
I know it is somewhere.
Somewhere.
I just figured it was in Pennsylvania,
I was going to say point to Transylvania on a map, and then I should just say point to Eastern Europe on a map. Let's see if you can find that. All right, so Licking Hole Creek's...
You lost me at Eastern.
Juicy Indian Pale Ale, man. This thing smells absolutely delicious. It is extremely floral hopped up front. You get a little bit of that bitterness up front, but it finishes out really smooth. It's got a beautiful caramel finish, and it has a lot of citrus notes, because that's how you get all that juicy flavor up in you. I probably I'm not going to sing its praises quite like you were singing yours. I think this is like a 4, man. I enjoy it. I think the bitterness is a little bit heavy up front.
A little too jarring. Okay.
A little too heavy up front, and it doesn't finish off with that nice crisp dry finish for like an IPA. Mm-hmm. But it is very juicy, and I do like that. They definitely put some craft into this one. So I do like it, but I'm going to be giving it a 4. All right, Jay, me and you got another top 5 to do. This time we are going to be doing top 5 movie endings. Our favorite top 5
I'm
movie
excited.
endings.
This is a great category, and I think it kind of it reminds you that a lot of your love for a movie sometimes hinges on a great ending. And I know from me, you'll see in my top 5.
Yeah. Whatever. We're going to talk about all that when we get over and we start doing our top 5 movie endings. All right, Jay, we may have been disappointed in the ending of True Detective Season 3, but these films did not let us down in their ending. We're going to do our top 5 movie endings. Now, a lot of times a movie doesn't hinge on its ending, but an ending can really improve an overall watching experience, especially an ending when it kind of blows you away or it just ends on that perfect, powerful, emotional point that the movie's been trying to make the entire time. These are all films that had fantastic endings. So let's get started with you, Jay. What is your number 5 ending?
Lost in Translation.
For relaxing times, make it Centauri time.
That's a fantastic ending, and it almost made my list. So,
yes. Boy, this movie. To be honest, I'm just going to say right off the bat, these 5 movies are like up on my all-time list. You know, like they're all there, like in that field.
Same with
they're
me.
in that wheelhouse.
Same with me. Yeah.
This is an adored movie for me. I think the chemistry between Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson is just perfect.
And I think
it's just exquisite.
I think the ending is extremely appropriate for the relationship that they built and everything like that.
Extremely appropriate. It was very respectful.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm getting.
Very fitting in this world, and it was nice to see the improv, which it really was,
the whispering
line whisper at the very end that you can barely hear them whispering something, but you cannot make it out what they say. And I highly, if you want to look it up and try and do some kind of digging on the black web or whatever you want to call it to find out exactly what he says, don't. Just don't.
Well, I thought I heard an interview with him where he literally just went in her ear and said nothing to her.
I've heard a couple things, and I 100% will stand behind. You don't want to know.
Fair enough.
And it worked perfectly. I thought it was a perfect ending.
Did he say you have a sweet can in those see-through panties you were wearing? Because that's what I would say to her.
I would too. But honestly, like it was one of those things where, like, yeah, but as the movie was slowly ending. And then all of a sudden, boom, you get this improv, like instant, like we didn't feel closure, in the movie. We're like, no, don't end like this. No, it just didn't feel satisfying. And then all of a sudden, he spots her and he jumps out of the car and runs after her. And then they just do an embrace and he whispers something. And you can just tell it was enough.
It's very much
oh my God. I adored that ending. It was very surprising. It was so satisfying because originally I was getting nervous because I didn't think it was going to end with a bang. And then it did. So
it was very much a like summer vacation, like, not even romance, but like friendship between them.
Sure.
When you have a summer fling, it's very
I'm a sucker for those kind of films.
It's very hot. Like it's very, you know what I mean? And I don't mean hot like sexy. I mean like you're very all about each other and you become very engrossed within each other for a very short period of time. And I think that perfectly portrayed it. And I think you're right. It is an extremely appropriate ending, an extremely poignant ending, and an ending that people still talk about to this day. All right, my number 5 is a film that I kind of like grew up with. It's one of those movies where like I have movies that I watch with my dad. I had movies that I watch with my mom. This is one of those movies that I watch with my dad. And I don't think I really started to appreciate it for what it was until I got a lot older. And it's The Godfather.
This one time I'll let you ask me about my affairs. Is it true? No.
Just that ending of the original Godfather, where
it's all my honorable mentions.
Where Kay is just right, but
also is the second movie. Because that is also...
that one's not as poignant for me because for me, Godfather Part 1, it was Michael, his entire relationship with Kay was built on that first conversation. That's my family, Kay. That's not me. Right, and then he proceeds to then almost unwillingly get thrust into the role of the head of the family, whether he wanted to or not. And it turns out he's really fucking good at it. Like he's just good at it. And he becomes engrossed in it, and it becomes such a part of his life.
Power.
Right. And then by the end, when, Kay is she's kind of like just looking back, and she's like, how did we get here? And she's looking, and he's behind that desk, and the other mobsters are standing around him in their suits, and then one just walks up and quietly shuts the door in her face. And it's like,
but not before he kisses his hand.
Right.
And just her just taking a quick first little glimpse of just how much power he's
But not only that, it's symbolic for their relationship, where she's never going to have him fully.
True.
They are never going to be fully in with each other, because he's always going to have a part of his life that's not part of her life.
Yeah.
And I thought that ending is extremely powerful, and it's not any type of ending that really would resonate me until I'm older now, right? Like, it's kind of like when you come over and my wife's still talking to me, and we slowly shut the podcast studio door in her face. It's great, hon, but you never asked me about business.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right, Jay, what's your number 4?
Oh man. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Why remember a destructive love affair? Here at Lacuna, we have perfected a safe, effective technique for the focused erasure of troubling memories. In a matter of hours, our patented non-surgical procedure will rid you of painful memories and allow you a new and lasting peace of mind you'd never imagined possible.
Is there any risk of brain damage?
It's on a par with a night of heavy drinking. Nothing you'll miss.
It's not a bad choice. It's just
it's kind of a risky choice.
Are all your endings going to be sad? Are they all sad? I need to know.
No.
Okay, good.
But my number 3 one is, I guess. But but not the 2 and 1. But anyway, but no, I said no. It's kind of bittersweet, right? Because the ending, they choose to give it another go. They find out that they both erased each other's memories from their previous relationship, and they confront each other.
You do realize the ending of this movie is
terrible.
Is an allegory for emotionally and physically abusive relationships, right?
I do.
Okay.
and the more I try. Look,
it's actually the reason I kept it off my list, because I was like,
I choose not to keep that in my head.
Okay.
Because I love this movie.
How many women do you think have erased you? Like, if this was possible, how many women do you think would erase you from their memory?
Oh, actually, a lot.
Yeah. I mean, for you, it's very easy. You go to sleep, you wake up, you've pretty much forgotten.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I actually there would be 2 or 3 ex-girlfriends that I know I really, apparently, and I found out later on, I kind of fucked up. They took it really hard. So really not good to know. I did not like hearing that at all from a mutual friend I bumped into randomly at of all places, a wedding. And she's like, so whatever happened? I'm like, I just got bored. Gave whatever reason. And she's like, she was destroyed. I'm like, fuck you. Why are you telling me this? I don't need to hear this. And whatever. But anyway, so this movie is obviously, I'm sure a lot of people, or I hope, have seen this movie. And if you haven't, please go see it. It is wildly all over the place. It's disjointed. You have to piece it together. And then when the film comes to a conclusion, I love that they're like, fuck it. We love each other. There's some kind of bond. There's some kind of chemistry. Let's just, we know all of our baggage. We know all of our shit. We heard it all. We heard the confession tapes. Fuck it. Let's just do it. And then it ends with this loop of them on the beach in the snow.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so beautiful. I love the movie.
It's one of those Michel Gondry films that's the most accessible also. So
True. Probably. Yeah. Yeah, and it's
Be Kind Rewind is like but like that one almost gets into a realm of weird. Like most people can't go down that road.
Is that classified as a movie?
It's a movie.
Yeah,
it's a movie, and in any other in format, no. There's no movie format.
It's
for that.
Certainly bold.
It was, but yeah, I think you're right. But like I said, like I kept it off my list because like. To me, I'm a pessimist, so like when I watched this, I was like, well, they're in for a world of pain in a couple months. They'll need to show back up at that doctor's doorstep to have their memories erased all over again.
Maybe.
All right, Jay, my number 4 ending is the zombie film that started it all, man. It's Night of the Living Dead.
All right, Vince, hit him in the head, right between the eyes. Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
The reason I chose this is because Night of the Living Dead is this movie where it takes all of humanity's faults and puts them in one house and asks them to survive the zombie apocalypse. And after everybody is gone and nobody's made it, our main character has. And as he pops his head out of the cellar that he's been hiding in, a good old boy, a redneck, shoots a black man in the head and kills him because he thought he was a walker. He only saw the top of his head. They had been going in there clearing out zombies, and he shoots the main character in the head very unceremoniously as well. You know, there's no fanfare to it. There's no big musical number as his body slumps to the ground or anything like that. It's just almost no sound. You hear him cock the gun and the trigger gets pulled and down goes the main character. He's done. It's over with. To me, that was always so shocking because like I watched the movie. I am happy that he survives and stuff like that because he's the only character in the entire movie who really put his shit together and had the right to survive, and then he just dies so unceremoniously. And then throughout the credits, they're showing the rednecks who have, you know, the good old boys, the militia that went out there to dispatch the zombies. They're burning all the bodies, and there's his body there in the foreground, just on a pile of other dead bodies. And suddenly he's meaningless now. You know, where he was the hero, now he's nothing again. And I just, to me, there was just a lot being said in that ending that wasn't being said. And I don't know whether George A. Romero ever meant to say it with having a African-American male play a lead role like that in 1968. He says he didn't. He says he just picked him because he was the best actor for the job, and that's why he did it. He didn't understand the whole social reasoning behind it. But for me, you know, watching it now with retrospective eyes, all of us collectively watch that and we go, wow, yeah. And then it's pretty poignant to have a black man get shot in the head by a white redneck. But it speaks more volumes than just the race aspect as well.
No, I know. That's true.
I mean, the whole film is about the degradation of humanity. And I don't think it was ever more poignant than the hero.
It was powerful for you too, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
then the hero
it
getting
made a
killed.
lasting impression,
right? Then the hero getting killed, and then just being lumped in with the rest. He's just there with the rest of the bodies, and his life is almost meaningless, and that goes again to the degradation of humanity.
Exactly, that says a lot about humanity and about life in general too, because. Right. At the very end of it, we all die, and we're all going to be in the ground,
and
one way or another.
almost how little we appreciate life in the end. Too. So, I love that ending. It's one of my favorite endings. Cool. We're starting to run a little long. We're gonna have to start doing these a little bit more rapid fire. So, Jay, what's your number 3?
La La Land.
And the Academy Award for Best Picture.
La La Land. La La Land has 14 Oscar nominations this year and is tied for the most nominated movie in Oscar history, winning 7 Oscars: production design, cinematography, original score, song, directing, actress, and Best Picture.
Guys, I'm sorry. No, there's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
I knew this could not be on your list.
Yeah. Damien Chazelle knows how to end a movie. And this one was a bit of a surprise. It was a doozy. And the whole last, I guess it was probably a sequence of about 15 minutes when there's a reveal. When Emma Stone's character is not with Ryan Gosling 5 years later or whatever. And then stumbles into his old club and then hears him play while rehashing a fantasy sequence of them living their lives together if they ever did stay together. And it was so bittersweet and so perfectly well done. It's so creative.
As much as I didn't like this movie, I did like its ending.
Everybody loved the ending
because it gave you as the audience a look into the character's wish fulfillment, and it was your wish fulfillment as well.
Exactly.
And then
reality.
But that is reality.
But then at the very end, that nod, that was what sealed the deal and put the icing on the cake, because she just left. They didn't talk to each other, but like there was that recognition, like,
we were
there's still love there. There's still respect there.
We were important to each other once.
And good for you, because obviously she's a world renowned movie star now because she's on the fucking
Now
walls.
you got me worried, because when we went to go see How to Train Your Dragon 3, my wife's ex-boyfriend was actually sitting behind us, and they shared
the fuck out of
they
here.
shared a similar like little head nod.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that all it was?
I don't know. She did disappear for about 5 minutes. No, I'm kidding. If he lasted more than 5 minutes, he's already doing better than I am.
Oh man.
All right, Jay, my number 3 is the Stephen King adaptation, The Mist, directed by Frank Darabont.
That's a good honorable mention for me too. I had that on there.
I love this ending because it's on my list, because
it's a gut punch.
It's an ending that A, it's a gut punch, but B, it's an ending that was better than the source material's ending, and even Stephen King says so. Having him have to make the choice between who he kills and who he doesn't kill, and it's their last hope. At the time, it's like he made the right call. If that ended with him getting eaten by a creature and stuff like that, and we never saw the army come to rescue him, and he killed his son, and I guess you could say at least a friend, the woman that he was with the entire time, he kills both of them, and then he gets killed by monsters. We would all go, all right, you did the right thing, man. Like there was no better outcome than that.
But it could have been a lot more forgettable too,
right.
in the long run. But now it's on our fucking list all these years later.
But then if he had just waited 10 seconds, the cavalry would have come in and he would have been saved. And it's just such it is a very morose ending. Like it is very morose, and it feels.
I love it. It's so fucked up. It's terrible.
It feels so wrong to love it so much. For how it made you feel.
I understand.
I remember coming out of the theater with me and my good friend Kenny. We left the theater after watching that, and we both just went, "What the fuck, man!" Like, and both of us told, I was like, "Do you want to go get food?" He goes, "No, my stomach's in knots," and I was like, "So's mine." Like, I just feel physically sick.
Yeah,
and it's like the physical way that ending made me feel. Like to have it resonate emotionally with me so much that it made me feel physical harm. I was like, dude, how can you not put that on a list?
But also, it was just so well shot too.
It was.
It could have been mishandled.
And I think Thomas Jane sold it. I think he might have oversold it a little bit. But I think he sold it well enough, because I don't think any of us have been in that position to know how we would emotionally react to it.
I don't think he oversold it. I really don't. Think about it. If you're in that kind of situation, and then something, just such a jarring thing like that would happen
again,
that you had to do yourself, and then find out all of a sudden the shock of, you're fine, you're safe, and then what just happened? You would lose your fucking mind.
Spoiler warning for no one who's seen The Mist, by the way.
Yeah, well, seriously.
It's been, what's it been, like 15 years? I think I'm safe to spoil whatever the fuck I want.
It's on them,
All right, Jay, what is your number 2 before we get into honorable mentions?
Oh, this is where it gets hard. I'm actually going to do something I normally don't do. I'm actually going to go with what I think is the best one for my number 1, instead of what I think is the most nostalgic one for me. So number 2 is Before Sunset.
Oh, yeah. Baby, you are going to miss that plane.
I know.
Okay, yeah.
Before Sunset. It's one of my favorite movies, obviously, trilogies of all time.
Aren't you going to miss your plane? Yeah. I love that.
Baby, you're going to miss your plane. I know.
I know.
And he just sits and he just laughs and watches her dance, like does some funky little waltzy music. And I literally just watched this movie last night when I was putting my list together, and God, it still gets me.
It's weird
it still gets
that
me.
it does romance in that way that like an 80s film would do, where the guy runs to the terminal and stuff like that. It does it without all that terminal stuff. It does it without all that. He misses his flight because he decided to stay put.
Yeah. And he's trying to drain every last drop of time with her until
I don't think his mind was made up until that minute in that movie. I don't think he ever intended on staying until that moment. Every time I watch this movie,
I never actually thought about that. I never really thought about that.
I don't think his mind was made up until that minute.
I see. I actually took it. He knew the moment he saw her in the cafe in the bookstore.
I think he was.
This was his fantasy. He finally got to see his girl.
I think different. I think he was chasing that feeling that he had in Before Midnight again. He was chasing. I'm sorry, but Before Sunrise. I think he was chasing that moment again. And once he was there again and reliving it, he decided it's just better to be here. Why try to recapture it? Why not live it every day?
But and also he had to sacrifice with the brother or his son. His son, he wanted to be a part of.
Right. And we see the ramifications of that in Before Midnight.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is a fantastic pick, man. I'm loving this because all of the picks you have are ones that I could easily have on my list. Though all the ones you have are ones you could easily have on your list. But my number 2, Jay, is The Thing.
Fire's got the temperature up all over the camp. Won't last long, though.
Neither will we.
How will we make it?
Maybe we should.
If you're worried about me...
If we've got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it.
Well, what do we do?
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.
Wow. This ending is ridiculous. There's so many theories about this ending. Who is the thing at the end? Are either of them a thing? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because both of them freezing to death out there in the cold is the only way to stop the thing.
Yeah.
And, there's just that ultimatum of like neither one of them can go anywhere. They're both just stuck there. And you're left with that feeling of like, that's it. They both die. Like they're both done. Mm-hmm. Now there's comic books that say to the contrary, that they don't both die. Childs and McCready both get out and continue their adventure with the creature. I prefer to leave it at the movie. While I did enjoy the comics for what they were, I prefer to leave it at the movie.
Yeah.
Because just the way that this movie felt and the way that it makes you feel at the end, it's the perfect ending for the tone of the film. Like, it's just so perfectly done. And it left so much, I don't want to say it's open, but it left so much to interpretation that, and it did it right. Like, a lot of times films will leave the ending up to interpretation and it's not done right. Here, it's done right. It doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like a cop out. It feels like the only way that it can end.
Well, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, especially after seeing all the events played out in the movie, it's just inevitable, especially where they're at economically. I mean, there's just nothing around. It's just fucking bitter, cold snow.
That's it. And there's not even like a building to go back to.
No.
They can huddle around a gasoline fire until that runs out, but even then.
Either way, yeah.
It's
just
still
give it a little bit of time. They're all dying.
It's still over. Yeah. Right. And I love the finality of that too. Like, I just love the fact that it's like, it's done. Like it's just done. And that's all there is to it. And, you can make up whatever theories you want about it, but all those theories, it doesn't matter because it ends there, at least until someone thaws one of them out and they are the creature again. And We don't need to see that story though, because the story was already done well enough here that you don't need to go back to it. All right, Jay, let's get into your honorable mentions.
So my honorable mentions are extremely brief. I mentioned it already previously a couple of times. Like The Mist, obviously, is right up there. Call Me by Your Name. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice bow at the very end, and having a long, interesting one shot, no cut sequence of just seeing Timothée Chalamet's close up face, just remembering the history with him and his relationship with his previous lover, and seeing that emotion all on one face. And then, there's a lot that I just did not throw on there because there's so many good endings out there.
There is.
Into interpretation.
It's a big list.
And it's a big list. And I really just try to narrow it down to like a real personal favorite movies kind of thing where like
I saw Boogie Nights on a lot of lists,
Boogie Nights.
You're a star. You're a fucking star. You're a bright, beautiful star. Look at my dick.
I actually never thought about that. That's worthy. That's an album mention worthy.
Look at my Subway foot-long dick.
But honestly, that was like the curiosity throughout the whole film. Like,
it was.
That was the whole premise.
It was
of the
payoff,
movie.
At least.
It was kind of a payoff. You know?
Jay, my honorable mentions are Whiplash. I absolutely love the ending to Whiplash. I remember watching that movie for the first time. I watched it here in the studio, had the stereo headphones on, just watching him go to town on the drums, and to watch J.K. Simmons, like at first the rage he was feeling at him upstaging him and him taking it over, and then like the pride that J.K. Simmons started feeling because he's like, fuck yes, and he just starts like getting into it.
Because he was, witnessing what he was previously talking to Andrew about.
Exactly.
About greatness and how just impossible it is to find. And when you fucking see it, it's like...
Looking at my list, it's my only one that's not like a sad ending. You know what I mean? It's actually like a comeuppance ending. It's the ending you want, right? It's the ending that you want, but they do it in such a way that like it feels so poignant and it feels so fucking right, and it just feels good. There Will Be Blood. That ending is just so...
I didn't like it.
So macabre. Oh,
I didn't love it. I didn't love it. And I know it's on a lot of people's lists. And
I love that ending.
It just didn't sit right with me for some reason. I don't know why.
The ending after he smashes his head in with the bowling pin and he just... I'm finished!
I know. I don't understand why it didn't resonate with me.
Jay, it is the definition. It is the definition of stark. It is just stark. Psycho. What a fantastic ending to Psycho. Realizing that the killer the entire time has both been his mother and him because he is one in the same. What a crazy little psycho.
It was a very good ending.
Seven.
Wow, come on. That's just...
What's in the box?
That's a given, man.
What's in the box? And then finally, this one's sci-fi nerdy of me, but Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston.
Classic one.
Yeah.
Classic.
You blew it up! You maniacs! You blew it all to hell! Damn you!
It's a great...
Not only do I love that, but I also love the Simpsons parody of it. Oops, I was wrong. It was Earth all along. You finally made a monkey out of me. Yes, we finally made a monkey out of you. Anyway. Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius, Dr. Zaius. Oh, Dr. Zaius. Rock me, Dr. Zaius. Anyway, Jay, what's your number one ending to film? Your favorite number one on your list? What do you got?
It's Whiplash.
Andrew, what are you doing, man? I'll cue you.
We obviously already just talked about it quite a bit on your honorable mention list.
How do I always do that? My honorable mention.
Sometimes it's
always your number one.
Well, maybe not number one, but it's usually on my list, and it gets awkward because I'm like, I
don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. Another second Damien Chazelle movie on my list. Another one of my favorites is Denis Villeneuve. He knows how to end movies too, but it didn't quite make my list with his endings. They are all fantastic, though.
Blade Runner 2049 has a fantastic ending.
Yes,
and that again felt right. It just fit so well, and that's where you do when you do an ending wrong.
And he has one of the most controversial endings. An Enemy. Not many people have seen Enemy. It says very, very indie movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal. Just if you're an indie lover, go see it. Just that's all I'm going to say. And then hit me up and we'll talk about it.
Well, man, I only saw Whiplash because of you. Whiplash you loved it so much that you made me go see it.
Amazing. And this ending blew my mind. The movie alone blew my mind.
It does.
But this ending was just I couldn't believe what I witnessed. This was a fucking ridiculous sequence.
I know people don't like Miles Teller for a lot of reasons. But
people compare him to Shia LaBeouf, I think, sometimes because he has that kind of presence and energy on screen sometimes in certain roles.
He also,
which I get.
He also has that history of scandal and stuff involving drinking and alcohol abuse and stuff like that around him as well.
Okay.
But on top of that, dude just puts out some truly great performances. I think of Bleed for this, you know, and that film is fantastic.
I haven't seen
You've
that.
got to see it. It's on Amazon, dude.
I know. I that's my movie homework for next week. I promise you. I'm gonna review it.
So what is about J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller about this ending?
It was just genius. I mean, working all the way up throughout this time, they finally see each other. They bump into each other. You don't know if each one of them knows that they ratted each other out, or he ratted J.K. Simmons out, and he lost his job. And then he's like, "Look, I just got this little gig, on the side. We're doing a little concert show. I need a drummer, And he's like, "Oh, cool, yeah, that'd be great." I'd be like, "Lost time. It's been a while. I'll do it." And guess what happens? He fucks him over because he knew it was him. And he switched up the music, and all he wanted to do was fucking shame him and embarrass him in front of all these prominent music lovers.
Which is what he's done to him and everybody else, all of his music students. He's always
he would have rather have done that than put on a fucking great show. And then all of a sudden, Miles, because he is a fucking genius drummer. I mean, you see in the movie, he puts himself out there for it, and it is true.
So,
and then he just
it's twofold though, because it's proving that J.K. Simmons' method works. Putting them under pressure, putting them under fire, is how they succeed.
That's the discussion.
But it also proves that.
But it only works for certain people, though.
Right. But it also proves that all the hard work that Miles Teller put into his craft eventually pays off. It's twofold.
It is. But, for example, my father is J.K. Simmons, essentially, in a lot of ways.
That's pretty awful. My dad's not. But
yeah. And I'm not that personality, though, with Miles. I don't have that thing. So that kind of personality I don't respond well to it.
I got you.
I shut down from it. I become more meek, and that's bluntly honest with me. I know, but it's true, and it just is what it is.
When people do that shit to me, I usually get vindictive and angry. But then when I get vindictive and angry, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show you that I can, and then I'm just proving their reverse psychology.
But I understand how certain people they would respond from it, and then you see this most phenomenal drumming performance.
You know what always gets me about this ending?
Blows my mind.
Paul Reiser, the father. That always gets me.
That was tough.
Yeah.
Tough, I guess you can say is the right word, maybe. But but him, that quick glance too, after in the middle of the sequence when he's killing it, his jaw is just dropped. He's witnessing what the fuck.
I love
wow.
That. Because his dad had previously told him, maybe that's enough. I'm done. Maybe this drumming thing wasn't you and stuff like that. And it's not that his dad has given up on his son. It's just that his dad wants his son to be happy, wants his son to be successful. Sure. And he didn't think that this was possible anymore to be the drum. And in that moment, he's seeing it. And
everybody's witnessing the greatness before their eyes, and it was
anyway.
And I love jazz too, so guilty pleasure.
Awesome movie. We both love it. On my honorable mentions, your number one, Jay. My number one. How could it not be a Star Wars movie? It's The Empire Strikes Back, man.
I'll never join you.
If you only knew the power of the dark side, Obi-Wan never
ever told you what happened to your father?
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
That's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Everything from that moment when Luke gets his hand cut off, to finding out that Vader is his father, to rejecting it as a lie, and then just the way it ends, man. Just, you know, Luke is looking out of a port bay window, and the Rebel Alliance is mobilizing, and they lost. Cloud City is lost. Luke just lost his hand to Vader. He found out Vader's his father. The Empire is stronger than it was before they blew up the Death Star. And on top of that, they lost one of their own. They lost Han. And watching that movie, you know, I can't say like I remember it for my first time, because I've watched it when I started watching his movies when I was like 3 or 4. But like, as I've gotten older, I've gotten like very appreciative of just that final scene of Luke and Leia, because it's hopeful for the next one.
Sure,
it's hopeful, but at the same time, it's just like, fuck, dude. They like, it's done. Like they didn't do it this time. Where, you know, the first one, you know, Star Wars ended with the explosion, with the medal ceremony, and dun 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 dun. Yeah. Everyone's happy. Yeah. We won the day. The Death Star is gone. And this one's just like, it's very dour. It's very, very down. It's very sad. And I don't think at that time that's what people were expecting. It's pretty shocking to kind of go to the movies and realize that your bad guys lost. And now it's kind of become a thing where it's like, oh, they Empire Strikes Back it, right? Some people argue The Last Jedi ended in a similar way.
Someone's got to do it first, Dave.
So some people argue that you know, the decimation, the snap in Infinity War was very much the same thing. It's like the heroes have lost, and yeah, it's a poignant storytelling method, but here in Star Wars, with it being done, it just felt so juxtaposed to what you got before that it's just nuts almost. And it's my favorite Star Wars movie, so obviously that holds a big reason why it's there. But it's just the way that movie leaves you feeling is not that it's hopeless. It leaves you feeling like the fight's not over.
Yeah, the story is continuing.
Right. Where so many hero stories end with, you know, the end of a fight. They may have to go into another fight, but it's the end of a fight. But usually they're on the winning side of it. But in this one, they're on the losing side of it. They lost. And it's just a strange feeling to go into. And I can only imagine having to wait 3 years after seeing that to be like, damn, you know, how are they going to make this all right? At least with The Last Jedi, there was that symbol of hope at the end of it. With Empire, the only symbol of hope we got is Luke's getting back on his feet and ready to go again. But other than that, where do you go?
Yeah.
So those are our top 5 favorite movie endings. Obviously, me and Jay can't fit all the ones that
this was a really fun top 5.
It's a fun top 5, but you know, we could easily do a top 20 of the greatest film endings and talk for hours on it.
Top 5's our shtick, you know.
But we don't got time. So I want everybody on Twitter to reach out to us at Super Movie Pod. Reach out to Jay, Super Movie Bros Podcast on Facebook, and let us know what your favorite movie ending is. What, just out of all the ones either we named or you have one for yourself, just let us know what it is. Also, if you want to check out Two Girls on a Bench podcast, head over to our network website, podfixnetwork.com, or check them out on iTunes or any other podcatcher that you listen to. If you enjoy their podcast, be sure to leave them a 5-star review. If you're liking Super Movie Bros, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review as well. That's what helps us get seen. That's what helps us get found by other people. It's what helps the show grow. You can also, if you want to help the show grow a little bit more immediately, you can head over to patreon.com/Super Movie Bros podcast, and just for $1, one measly mother fucking $1. It's less than a cup of coffee. You can save our podcast and you'll get all the extra content that is over there. If you want to pledge more, we got some other incentives for those that pledge more than just $1. So make sure you head over to patreon.com/supermoviebros. We want to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor is Blowfish, the hangover cure. You can get your 15% off of your Blowfish order by going to forhangovers.com and using the promo code SMBFISH to get your 15% off. I want to thank all of you for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.